All right, we are live. We're in here. Man, it has been a while since we went live. So how are you guys doing? We won't jump right into it. We'll talk for a minute. I'm like oh man, I probably need to take that phone call just to let you guys know, but I'm not. I'm not going to just for y'all. But that's a big phone call that I think I'm ignoring right now. Harlan, I'm going to text you on the side what that phone call is. But I can't believe I just ignored that. Y'all are going to be asking me for the entire hour that we're on here who that phone call was. And maybe I'll tell you tomorrow. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow. How you guys doing, man? It's been a little while. We're going to talk a little spring game today. We're going to talk a little bit about Jordan Pride, a little bit about some options to replace Jordan Pride. We got some different things going. Jeffrey, what's going on, my man? Thank you for hanging out today. Y'all do me a favor if you're in here. I know that we're just getting started. Hit that share button. If you're watching this on replay, hit the subscribe button. Like I got my coffee. Got something else there in the back. Shout out to the people that on all our YouTube videos notice what kind of bourbon I put in the back. I changed that out pretty intentionally. Shout out to the haters that hate on the bourbon that's in the back there. Give me a hard time based on what I'm picking. I try to vary that up so you guys don't always have to look at the same thing. But then obviously we got the Coach Bowden football and hat. My kids were running around with that hat the other day saying, I'm a farmer, and I was like, please take that off. That's worth more than you are. So let's get after it. Let me share this and we'll get going. Copy link. Okay, cool. So if you are watching this, you're hanging out, throw as many questions as you like down there in the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Obviously, we'll always get to any kind of super chats that you guys throw in. We haven't been live in a couple of months. It's been off season. The YouTube videos have been doing really, really well. Live has been down a little bit. And so we're giving this a shot. I just kind of missed it. I was talking to Newberg, and I just kind of said, like, I miss going live. I miss getting on here and interacting with you guys. I miss being able to just kind of ramble. Some people like that. Some people like the rambling. I don't know that I like the rambling, but some of y'all do. So we're here. We're here on live. We're going to talk about Jordan Pride. We're going to talk about some other safety options. I'll share my thoughts on that. I got an interesting DM and then an interesting follow-up call from that DM here just a few minutes ago. Let me text that person back and just say, hey, I'm on a show right now. Is this? So got some big things happening. Who's going to Tallahassee? Who's going to be there tomorrow? Well, I guess Saturday, but I'm getting in town tomorrow, so weekend starts a little early. What's up, guys, here in the chat? Niners, Noles fan. Yeah, I was a little bit late. Scott, I'm going to try and do more lives. We'll see, though. The lives have been, I feel like so YouTube, I'll tell you this. Give us some YouTube knowledge, and then we'll get started. Get some more people in here. Hit the share button, and we'll go. YouTube doesn't really promote the lives. Like, I can do a live video with the same title and thumbnail and SEO, same length, same exact content within it. I can do a live video, and YouTube promotes it about, I don't know, maybe 33% as much as just putting that out as a regular video. So it's hard, man. I like the live, I like the interaction, but YouTube just doesn't promote it as much. And so if I can get my thoughts off and they're going to promote it 200 times more, it's hard to get on the live. But I do appreciate Niners, Noles fan, Norvell Central. Appreciate you guys. Tyler, what's going on, my man? All right, let's get after it. We've done like 5 minutes of intro here, so sorry if you're watching on the replay. You should just fast forwarded to like 5 minutes when we started the actual content, the actual talking. Jordan Pride decommits from Florida State last night. They say Charles Lester's probably the best kept secret when it comes to like who's going to commit to the Noles. Maybe Jordan Pride was the best kept or worst kept. Maybe that's the right way to say it. Worst kept secret when it comes to who was going to maybe leave the class. I talked with Bill King about this morning on his radio show, and for those that aren't maybe real super familiar with that recruitment, that relationship, it just kind of seemed like neither side was as interested in the other as they maybe were 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Obviously committed in July of 2021. I just don't think either side was as committed to the other side as they were 2.5 years ago. I think that Florida State would have liked to see more development when over the last 2 years, just short of that, right? So we'll call it 2 years, but it's like a year and 9 months. I think they would have liked to seen more development out of him since that time. I think they would have liked to seen him progress a little bit more. And I don't think that they're as in love with him as a recruit as they were back then. I also, you do wish him the best. He had a pretty gruesome knee injury that he'll need to work back from. And I don't think he has the same love and admiration for Florida State that he had a couple of years ago. I've been told there's some people in his camp that are maybe a little anti-FSU, maybe want him elsewhere. I also know that he was really, really close with Coach Woodson. And so Florida State losing Coach Woodson, moving on from that situation, I think that was, again, another mutual kind of parting of the ways. All things that probably contributed. Now, all that said, and that's really convenient spin, and we'll get some rivals on here that'll say, like, I'm just spinning a loss. I think he would have been in Florida State's class. I think that if he had stayed committed, Florida State, I don't think they would have, pushed him out. I think they would have taken him in this class. I don't think FSU was actively pursuing, and it's kind of like dating, right? Like if you're dating around with 2 or 3 different girls trying to figure out who you're going to kind of go steady with, right? I sound like an 80-year-old saying that. And you basically just stop calling one girl back. I mean, that's the sign, right? We can still be cool, but I'm done calling you. So I think Florida State I think it was kind of mutual though. I don't think Florida State certainly expected it. I also think, nobody's upset. I don't think, Pride's upset. I don't think Florida State's upset. I don't think Coach, Surtain's upset. I almost said Woodson. I don't think Norvell's upset. So anyway, maybe that's convenient spin. There are other. We did a video on here yesterday about another recruit visiting somewhere else. If that recruit was to decommit, we'd be having a very different conversation, right? We did an entire video just on we'll just say it, Luke visiting Penn State. So there are definitely recruits that would move the needle if something was to come up or something was to happen. This is just not one of those situations. I wish the kid the very best of luck. I think Florida would be my leader for him right now, but I think Florida's about to get a 5-star safety this weekend, and then I think they're really close on getting another safety that's a 4-star out of Daytona Beach, and I think that safety is going to end up ranked higher than Jordan is as well. So I don't even know if he's a take for Florida. Florida also has Jarvis Boatwright committed, which we'll talk about in just a moment. He's a 3-star safety, and so I think that they would take pride over him, but they also might just kind of value the relationship and keep Boatwright. So I don't even know if pride's a take for UF. I don't expect I might have to eat crow on this because for optics, flipping somebody from your rival always looks good. But I don't even know if they're going to let Pride commit right away. I think that there's a good chance that they want to see him after rehabbing his injury. I think there's a good chance they want to see how he progresses and how he develops. Florida would be my leader right now, but I don't know that that's something that's just going to happen right away. We'll see. I could be completely wrong on that. He might commit this weekend after attending their spring game tonight. So shout out the blue and orange team for having a spring game on a Thursday night. I also talked with Bill King about this. Tough decision for those folks to make between watching the women's gymnastics championships and their spring game today. So would you watch something that you weren't really as interested in that you were really good at, or would you watch something that you're really interested in that you're not good at? That to me, that's kind of, do you want to watch Graham Mertz skip passes to Florida's talented wide receiver room all night? So anyway, all right, yeah, some folks have some questions here, some different things. Somebody talked about choices, options. Yeah, throw that up on the screen, Harlan. Let's talk about some safety options, some replacements for Jordan Pride. I think that Florida State has a couple of different ways that they can go with this. Some of these are probably more likely than others. There are some of these guys that I think Florida State has a better chance than others with. But top of the list is KJ Bolden, a 5-star. I don't know if Florida State's as in this. I think this is an Alabama, Clemson, Tennessee battle. Florida State's fighting to get that next official visit. I think that with KJ, you would really like to get an OV out of him, but if you're having to fight this hard and he's already got those other official visits locked in, it might kind of give you a hint as to what's going on. But I don't know. I think that KJ's probably your big one, probably the one you will end up with, or probably the least likely that you end up with. If you can get him for an official visit, I don't want to take anything off the table, but I do think you could throw up that safety options on the B-roll, Harlan. It's all good. I do think that KJ's maybe a little bit of a stretch. Maybe a little bit more likely, something that I think could happen is Ricardo Jones. He will be in town this weekend at the spring game, so I think he would be really, really important. You should probably see the Noles push here to get an official visit scheduled with him. That would be the biggest thing for me, is if Florida State can get an official visit set up with Ricardo Jones, I think they'd have a really, really good chance down the stretch with him. I know that Auburn's going to be really, really heavily involved there. Obviously, you went head-to-head with Auburn last year for Falk, and you lost there, so it'd be nice to have a little bit of payback. I think that I don't know that I'd pick the Noles right now for Ricardo Jones. I do think they're going to be in it for a while. So I don't think that's one that's going away anytime soon. Brandon Jacob, I'll give a quick shout out to our Discord real quick. Roll over to our Discord. The link is down in the description. You can also just search DFNS on Discord. You should be able to find it. I think it's searchable, but I also tweet about it all the time. So if you can't find it, shoot me a message or comment on this video and I'll get you the link. But we have been dropping some news and notes on Brandon Jacob. I think that Florida State's most likely replacement for Jordan Pride is Brandon Jacob. I feel really good about where the Noles are right there. He's visited Tallahassee several times. I was checking to see if he would be in town this weekend. I don't have any kind of confirmation. I think he'd be important to get there as well. If he doesn't come this weekend, I believe he'd be back on campus soon. I think FSU probably even leads here. I don't think he's come out and made that public, but that's probably the way that I see his recruitment going down at this moment. And I think if Florida State pushes here, I think Jacob will finish ranked ahead of Jordan Pride when it's all said and done as well. So I think both Jones and Jacob will. I think there's a great chance that Ryan Mack finishes ahead of him as well. Florida State's probably running third or fourth here. I don't think they're in a super great spot for Mack right now, but I think they've also got a pecking order and a list of who and where they like different people. I think that Ryan Mack is somebody that they could turn the heat up on a little bit and be back in that recruitment. And then we mentioned Jarvis Boatwright, currently committed to the Gators, but I do think, and this is probably your last option. I don't want this to be, oh man, TJ said we should go after Jarvis Boatwright as a replacement for Jordan Pride. But I do think there's a chance he ends up back up on the market if both the guys I mentioned for Florida do end up committing. I think they're going to get a 5-star safety out of Texas. I think they're also going to get a 4-star safety out of West Palm, Daytona Beach is where he is. And so if both of those go through and they take Jordan Pride, I think Boatwright might end up getting dropped. You could take him as a kind of a class filler. I don't know that he's really somebody you want to, I don't know if he's really, a guy that you're going to, allocate a scholarship to or not. But I think those are some options, some guys that you could see Florida State look to replace Jordan Pride. I think Florida State would take up to 2 safeties here. I think, your most likely combo is probably Ricardo Jones and Brandon Jacob. I think KJ Bolden is going to be tough. I don't think it's impossible, but I do think that one will be tougher than most. Let me give a quick shout out to our friends over at Garnet and Gold. You can go to garnetandgold.com. If you're going in town for the spring game, you probably need to get your order in like ASAP. Garnetandgold.com. You can do in-store pickup. That way, the madhouse that it is on Saturday, you don't have to be shopping and bumping elbows and everything else like that. Go to garnetandgold.com. Use code NOSLAW, NOSLAW, to get 15% off your order. The best when it comes to Tallahassee merchandise, Florida State gear, licensed apparel. They do a ton with NIL. They've got Jordan, Travis, and Trey Benson stuff in there right now. They support our softball and baseball teams. Tara over there was telling me the softball stuff has been flying off the shelves, so you'll be lucky if you can find any of that. But garnetandgold.com, the absolute best when it comes to Florida State apparel. What are you guys' thoughts on the safety options that we talked about? What are you guys' thoughts on who you want us to target? Obviously, if you could get KJ Bolden, that would be that'd be quite the replacement. But I think if you could get Brandon Jacob or Ricardo Jones, you'd be really, really thrilled there. I think you'd certainly take both of them. You'd really like to kind of pull both into the fold there. And like I said, this is not a, oh man, he's just going to drop, so it's, who cares? But I think that you're going to see Jordan Pride's recruitment. Again, I don't even know if he's a take at UF right now, and that's not to disparage a kid, but just coming off the injury, he hasn't progressed the way you'd want him to. His film's not great. I think that it's going to be tough for him. So, all right, had a couple other questions on recruiting. We'll get to some of those in a minute. If you have questions that we really need to answer, or if you just want to show some love, you can always hit that super chat button. Let's talk about the spring game just a little bit. Hey, if you're going to the spring game, we have a tailgate going on. You should come hang out with us. We're excited about that. We're excited to hang out. We're excited to spend some time with you guys. The link is down in the description for tickets. You get about $40 worth of gift cards if you come to the spring game tailgate. So I think the tickets end up costing, after the gift cards, the tickets end up costing like $10. So come hang out with us there in front of Doak. We're right on the Legacy Walk, typically the first tent. Hopefully they gave us the first tent again this time, because I always like flexing with that. But come hang out with us right there on the Legacy Walk. Excited for the spring game. Who are you guys excited to see out in the spring game? What players are you most interested in seeing? And it's not necessarily like to me, it's not Jordan Travis, and it's not Jared Verse. It's, as much as I love watching Johnny Wilson play, it's not Johnny Wilson. It's not necessarily him. I am excited to see a lot of guys, but it's not necessarily like our big guys, right? Our absolute all-stars. I don't really want to see Jordan play more than a couple of plays. I think I'd be fine with seeing Jordan just play a series or two and then getting out. I think I'd be fine for that for most of our starters. I don't want to see Jared Verse playing a ton, but there are some guys that I'm really, really interested in seeing. And so I'd like to hear from you guys. Who are you guys most excited about seeing at the spring game this weekend? Let me take a sip of coffee. Give me a moment. Let me send this to Harlan. All right, cool. So I think the name that I'm most excited about seeing this spring, I think I'm excited to see Daryl Jackson and Joshua Farmer. Is Fisk 100%? Like, I know he's been participating, but I don't know if he's like 100% all the way. I think I'm excited to see Farmer and Jackson. I don't want to see Fabo in there a lot. I heard he's been wrecking crap. Like, I heard he's been great out there when he's been out there. I want to see Farmer and Jackson. I want to see how those guys ball out. Because I've heard at times this spring they've been absolutely unblockable. Those are two guys that I'm really excited about seeing. Again, I love Jared. I'd rather watch Jared Verse than probably anybody on our team. Well, Jordan Travis is a human highlight reel, so probably Jordan first. But I'm not really even excited to see Jared Verse. Like, maybe a series or two and then get out. Like, I don't want to see that. Somebody mentioned Fentrell Cypress. That is a great one. Listen, I've heard, Harlan knows what I'm talking about here. I've heard some things about our cornerbacks, guys, where I know that when I was asked last year going into the year what was the position I was most concerned about, it was cornerbacks. That's not going to be the case this year. I'm just telling you guys. That is not going to be the case. I'm hearing some incredible things about our cornerbacks. From Renardo to Jarian Jones to Fentrell, Quindarius, I'm hearing things about. Azariah Thomas. Like, I'm jacked up about our cornerbacks this year. That I didn't even mention the guys in the slot. Yeah, that unit is going to be really good this year. I don't think I'm just getting sold a bag of goods there. I think that is something that is going to be really exciting, is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think that Cypress has a chance to be an absolute true shutdown. They say that people don't even really throw his way. Like, and I'm not making this comparison, but I won't even say his name. The great defensive backs had not terrible stats, but just had unimpressive stats because nobody even threw their way. That's what I hear is happening in spring practice and spring scrimmages with Cypress. Like, nobody's even testing him. He didn't give up many catches last year because, again, nobody threw his way at Virginia. Broke up like 6 passes because nobody threw at him. That was more than 6. Really excited to see him. I want to see how our linebackers play. I don't believe you'll see Tatum out there tomorrow. I don't think you'll see Brendan Gant out there tomorrow. But, you should see Kalen. You should see Lundy. You should see some of those guys. I'm excited to see how those guys play. I'm excited to see – it's early for these guys, but I'm excited to see Ward and Nicholson get in there and mix it up a little bit. I don't know that I expect them to have massive roles on this team this year, but I just want to see what they look like, their physicality, what they look like out there in live action reps, right? So that might come a little later, maybe the second hour of the scrimmage. But I'm excited to see Warden Nicholson. Gilbert Edmond, that's a great one. I've heard that he has been really, really, really good against the pass. I've heard that they wouldn't hate if he kind of cleaned up some stuff against the run and got a little bit better there. I've heard that that's maybe a little bit of what they think they may be missing with Derek McClendon. And so, I think that that is something that will be interesting to see. The transfers along that defensive line are certainly something that, we're all interested in. But, yeah, the defensive ends are going to be important. Pat Payton, certainly somebody that want to see more from. I've heard that Pat Payton has – it's not like he was under the radar last year. Won Defensive Rookie of the Year, or Rookie of the Year in the ACC. But I've heard that he's kind of put some things together and really taken off. Safeties, I don't think you'll see Travis Jay out there. I've heard some things that he may or may not be involved in the scrimmage. The spring game. I don't expect to see Jay. I know there's a lot of questions there, but does Omar and Cooper look good back there in the backfield? Just how does Shaheem and Akeem play together? I think those are all things that we'll be kind of anticipating. Conrad Hussey, who Florida State brought in this year, I know they're really high on him and they think he can make an impact. Is he able to make that this year? Offensively, I'm excited to see that offensive line. There is absolutely no doubt about it. That offensive line, I know that a couple of guys are banged up. You won't see a couple of guys out there, but how do they gel together? Defense always seems to start faster in any kind of spring camp or fall camp. How does the offensive line look? How do they put things together? What does that unit gel like? And then as far as playmakers go, so you've heard things about Rodney Hill. You've heard things, CJ Campbell's had some good stuff that he's done. Toa Philly's done some good things. Obviously Benson, I don't need to see a lot from him. I kind of know what we have there. But I do think that the Rodney Hill dynamic, Toa Philly, CJ Campbell, Keziah Holmes, who really shines under the lights. It's one thing to do it in a closed scrimmage. Who does it when several tens of thousands of people are there in Doak and ready to go? I'm really excited to see what those running backs look like. Wide receivers, we were told that Winston Wright was going to be wide receiver 1 before his injury, and that is kind of what he was looking like. He was putting it together. What is, as we got Coach Dugans here on the screen while we're chatting, that's perfect, Harlan. I don't know if you knew that was him or not, but good call on picking that one. I'm excited to see what Winston Wright looks like and what he's able to do, what kind of impact he makes. Does he step up? Is he wide receiver 2 behind Johnny? Who else steps up from that wide receiver group? You've heard things about All Day Dre just being really, really good this spring. What does he do when the lights are bright and on? What's your guy Hakeem do, who just made a nice catch there on the B-roll? Williamson, Biscuit. There's a lot of guys that I'm anticipating seeing out there. I don't think I'm more excited to see anybody on the offensive side than Jaheim Bell. I think that is one that it has been raved about how good of an athlete he is, how electric he is, how much of a matchup nightmare he is just about everywhere. I think Jaheim Bell is somebody that I'm really, really excited to see. I think that Morlock is somebody that I think will take a little bit of time to transition, but I think that, seeing what kind of impact he's able to make. I heard he catches everything. I heard that dude has hands like crazy. It's going to take him a little time to get acclimated and adjusted to this level coming from shorter university. But I think he's somebody that's interesting. And then, of course, you want to see quarterbacks, right? How do the quarterbacks look? It's been hit and miss. It's been up and down, I think, for the quarterbacks. Again, Jordan, I don't want to see more than a drive or two, but who really steps up in the closest to like a game-like situation that we're going to see? Who steps up with fans there, with people in the crowd? Who's making the right plays? Who's checking guys into things? Who's communicating with Norvell well? Is that Duffy? Is that Tate? How does Brock look? You've heard good things about Brock at times. I don't think Brock's going to challenge for that backup role, but I do think that, Tate probably leads slightly. AJ has some ground to make up, but Tate certainly hasn't distanced himself. So I think that, that certainly could be, something that you end up seeing. So, woo, look at Scott. Do we have sounds uploaded in here, Harlan? Oh, and the other thing. All right, Scott, we're going to get to you in just a minute. Well, we'll throw yours up. We'll play a sound here for you in a minute. Look at Scott with the $20 super chat, $19.99. Shout out Scott. We will use that on Family Fun Fund. So our fun fund is usually diapers and formula, but that works. Harlan just had a baby, so he knows how that goes too. Scott, my man, I appreciate that. You've been a supporter since day one. Anything we do and tell you guys to go support, Scott's always the first one to jump on it. Scott jumped in the Discord. He's over there chatting with us most days. Sky out in the middle of, I don't want to say middle of nowhere, but one of those flyover states. I think Scott's got to get down here to Florida. But Scott, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your support. It means a lot. Y'all be like Scott. You ain't got to do $20, but you can throw $2 in.
Okay, because Florida State, if we gonna do it, then we do it big. Let's go, baby.
That's Scott's motto when it comes to the super chats. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it big. Then see if anybody can beat Scott on this on today. Anybody can beat Scott with you don't even have to beat him by that much. You can just go to 20. You don't have to do a 50. You can do a 50 if you nobody. There's no big y'all. Remember? Okay, so a year ago today was when the MIM stuff was going on. You remember how mean Newberg used to be to you guys? He'd call you unemployed and stuff if you were listening to a Spaces or a podcast or something in the middle of the day. I almost just did that. I almost just said nobody can beat Scott because we're all unemployed sitting here listening to me talk at noon on a Thursday. But I didn't say that. I thought it. I didn't say it. But Newberg was mean to you guys, and I think you guys like Newberg more than you liked me. My guy Jim in Jupiter doesn't like Newberg. He's the only one that likes me more than Newberg. But Newberg was just mean. Shout out to the unemployed. But yeah, a year ago today, Mims got to town. After the Travis Hunter thing, let me just tell you. After the Travis Hunter thing happened in December of 2021, and then the Mims thing happens in May. With the Mims thing, I was like, man, we're back. We're getting this guy, 5-star offensive tackle. Offensive line's already going to be good, but this is going to make it even better. And then that Mims thing happened, bro. I was questioning every decision that I'd made in my life up to that point. Not that I had anything to do with Mims, but we'll blame other outlets for that, not me. I won't say who, though. I'm going to get in trouble. But the Mims thing, when that went down, man, I was just like, can I get any good news ever? Can anything good ever happen here again? So anyway, good stuff. Glad that we moved on from that. I am not. We've really turned it around, though. You think about that. Since the Mims thing happened, I know that it wasn't the recruiting class we wanted, but we had, the best. I know it wasn't ranked number one, but the best transfer class out there, especially incoming. When you look at LSU and you look at what they lost compared to what they gained, they basically just kind of broke even. When you look at what Florida State lost versus replaced, really, really impressive. And then Colorado, I know that they're ranked high as well, but they just took 500 guys. So I think that's a little bit different. Tyler, what do you guys do? You said you got rained out. So what are you out there doing, man? But But since then, you had the number one, you had the best transfer class, the most instant impact guys, the most starters you're going to bring in. You brought in 3 stud offensive linemen. 2 of them are going to start. A defensive end that both LSU and Florida really wanted. A defensive tackle from your biggest conference rival. So, yeah, I mean, the number one corner in the Power 5. I think that, you've done well in the transfer class. Post Mims, right? So Mims you don't get, but then you basically crush it in the portal since then. The recruiting last year I think had a little bit of an uptick from the year before, but probably isn't to the point that we still want it. I think it will get there this year. We talked about that a lot. We put a video out this week on the 5 stars that Florida State has a shot at and has a chance with. Framing Howell. Oof. Praise God you got rained out, man. Sounds hot. And I think Florida State could land with 3 or 4 5 stars on their commit list this year, and then have another guy or 2 that are just outside of that range, right? So your first 32 guys are 5 stars, and then past that, you're probably looking at maybe 2 guys in the top 60 of the thousands of kids that will be available. Having 4 or 5 in the top 60 is really, really good, even if only 3 of them are 5 stars. Only 3 5 stars. Again, only 7 teams in the country only 6 teams in the country last year had 3 or more 5 stars. So you get 3 5 stars and then 2 more guys in the top 60, and you're finishing with the top 7-ish class, 7, 8, worst case. I think you're most likely right now. I don't want to ruin that whole video. So I'm going to tell you guys this, but you got to go watch that video if you didn't already. You got to go watch the video on the 5 stars that Florida State has a chance with. But I'll tell you guys, just because you're watching live, I'll tell you guys. So this is worth like a super chat or a super thanks. But here's who Florida State's going to get on that list. Let me pull up my notes real quick so I don't say somebody's name wrong. I can't believe I'm giving out this right now. When this was like its own video, and here I go just giving away the sauce. Let's see here. All right, here's who I think the Noles get. I think they get Cromanhoke, Lester, Jonathan Daniels, Cam Davis, and Jamari Howard. Those are the 5. And I know there's a lot of talk around Landon Thomas too. Maybe you get him. I think Luke and Kamari are going to be high 4 stars, like in that top 60 to 70 range. I don't think they get their 5th. I don't think either one of them gets their 5th star. Luke maybe, but I think they'd have to jump too many guys. Luke might finish top 40, but then just be like 4 or 5 spots out of 5 star, which that's fine. He's really, really good. So I think they get Luke, Jamari Howard, the Michigan State commit, and then I think they get Cam Davis, Charles Lester, and then was there one more? Was there one more that I missed? Oh, Jonathan Daniels. I think they get the number 1 offensive tackle in the country out of Pensacola, Florida. So if they were able to pull one more than that, again, JoJo Trader, Landon Thomas, KJ Bolden, Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman. I don't think they get Smith, Coleman, Bolden, but could they get a Landon Thomas? Maybe. If they get him for an official visit, I think that's big. Could they get a JoJo Trader? That's going to be a Florida State-Miami battle. Maybe they could get him too. So, yeah, we've had some comments on Landon Thomas. I think that if he, if you can get him on campus for a visit, that's what's going to be huge, right? And Georgia will do everything in their power. He was a former Florida State commit, and so it's like everything's a dating analogy today. I don't know what. Maybe there's something wrong with me, but it's like your ex. There's a reason your wife never wants you talking with your ex ever. You can't just be friends with your ex because you're familiar. You've done stuff, right? You've been intimate. You've shared great memories. There's a reason your wife does not want you. Georgia, I'm going to tell you something. Georgia's fine with Landon Thomas talking to Florida. Alabama, Nick Saban. Ohio State, right? It doesn't matter. Georgia doesn't want him talking with Florida State. I can tell you that. Because you just never want, there's a comfortability there. You never want your wife talking with your ex. Or your wife doesn't want you, both ways, right? So I think that if Thomas gets back on campus, that could be really big for the Noles. Now, I think Georgia will try to do what Florida State did with Keldrick Falk and try to keep him from visiting, right? Falk was supposed to go visit Tennessee. They shut that down. Falk was supposed to do, they've shut down visits in the past of other people. I think that that's what Georgia will try and do with Florida State here. And so that's why I'm not putting them on flip watch. That's why I'm not saying like, oh, the Noles have a great chance. We get questions in the Discord every day about whether or not he'll flip. And I think until he shows up on campus for that official visit, it's hard for me to say that it's going to happen. I think it's hard for me to predict that it's going to happen until he shows up. Until he gets there, it's really hard to say that that's what's going to take place. Because I think Georgia's going to do everything in their power to shut it down. Jonathan Daniels is a prospect that's really, really intriguing to me. Obviously, he's got a couple predictions in for Florida State, so I don't think it's like super crazy that I'm putting him out there on as somebody that Florida State's going to be really involved with. But I just think proximity to Florida State, I think being in the paint, like I don't want to say that's Florida State's to lose. I don't want to simplify that one that much, but I think that's going to come down to the two schools he's closest to, and I think that's LSU and Florida State. He kind of splits them in the middle, a little closer to Tallahassee where he's at, but I think that that's one that the Noles have a really, really, really good shot at, and I ultimately think they land Daniel. So we got that video up there playing now. So, all right, what questions do you guys have? We'll go for like 20 more minutes. I don't have a ton else prepared. I can talk about Chrome and Hoke a little bit if you guys want us to. Brandon Baker's 25, just to answer that real quick. I can talk about Luke a little bit. I can talk about Baker's 2024. I'm sorry. Yeah, Brandon Baker, 2024. He's the number one offensive tackle according to 247. So Jonathan Daniels is number one on 3. So yeah, Brandon Baker, if he caught, I don't know that Florida State's super close there. He needs to get back. He needs to get back in town for an OV. I know that Miami's going to be really, really tough there. West Coast kid. I think that your big ones like USC and Oregon are going to be tough there. I mean, that's a kid that everybody wants. So, but what else do you guys have? Like I said, we'll stay on for like 20 more minutes. We'll go till about noon, and then we'll get out of here. But what questions do you guys have? Who are you excited to see in the spring game? What recruiting questions do you have? I can talk about Luke a little bit. I did a video on that yesterday, but I'm happy to talk about Luke if that's what you guys want to talk about. But you guys tell me. You guys are the bosses here. I just sit on camera. So who's next in line after Pride? Okay, so we talked about that a little bit at the beginning. Harlan, if you want to throw up the options list. Here, I threw up some options. I've got some different options. He did visit this last week, but I'm saying he needs to come in for an official visit as far as Baker goes. Safety options, again, we talked about this at the beginning, but if there's different people in here that maybe didn't see that. KJ Bolden, I think it's probably a stretch. Ricardo Jones, you're probably running like third there for him right now, but he is on campus this weekend. So if you can lock in official visit with him on campus, then that's pretty big. Brandon Jacob, you probably lead for. And I think both Ricardo Jones and Brandon Jacob will finish ahead of Jordan Pride in the rankings. Ryan Mack is another kid that I think you could potentially have some room to kind of push there. I don't know that, I don't know that he's going to be easy by any means. South Florida kid out of St. Thomas Aquinas, but a really good player. He's a 4-star on 3. He's a 3-star according to the industry, but I think he'll rise a little bit. He's kind of a borderline 3-4 on 247, high 3-star, 429th nationally on 3's industry ranking, but on 3 has him as the 201st player overall. So they have him as like a top 200 type kid. They're really high on him. Charles Power over there does a great job with their rankings. Ryan Mack, I lean him toward Miami right now, just being a South Florida kid, but I think that's somewhere you could really push hard. And then if Boatwright was to leave Florida's class, I think you could push there, but you really should be going after the top 3 on the list, and then Mac if you can get into that Miami battle a little bit more, and then Boatwright. All right, somebody asked about Ryan Fitzgerald. That's not a bad question. I think that kicking's been up and down for Florida State this spring. I think there have been, yeah, you bet, man. Thanks for tuning in. I think. And I like Ryan Fitzgerald a lot. I think he's a really good kid. I think that, Harlan, I think if you go to B-roll 5, I think there's a Ryan Fitzgerald highlight at the end of that. So, there it is. Dude, you're the man, bro. I don't pay you enough. Don't pay me enough either, though. So we need more Scots. We need more Scots to hit that $20 button. I'll pay Harlan more, and my kids will eat this month. But I think Ryan's a great kid, and I think they brought in some competition for him this year. I had eyes and ears out at a scrimmage, the first scrimmage of the spring, and he was really, really good. I think he had the first one blocked. Renardo or somebody made a really good play to block it, and then he basically made everything else for the rest of the practice. And then the most recent scrimmage 2 weeks ago, like neither kicker could hit anything. And so it's just like, man, that's just such a I hope it doesn't cost FSU in a big game. I think that it would be incredibly frustrating if it does. There's obviously a lot riding on this season, and you just need to kind of need to blow teams out. If kicking's just not been great for us. So it's been up and down. I wouldn't say it's been terrible, but there have been times it's been terrible, and there's been times it's really good. So more of the same, a little bit of inconsistency. Jarvis Boatwright, Jr., he's actually not committed. I looked at something incorrectly, but really, really heavy lean toward the Gator. He's from Clearwater, Florida, goes to Clearwater. He's a 3-star according to On3's industry rankings. Rivals has him as a 4. I don't know if they're just kind of off there or what. ESPN's really low on him. On3 and 247 are kind of in the middle of where Rivals and ESPN are. And I think that's probably where he'll end up. I think he'll probably be a high 3-star type kid. 6'2", 175 pounds. I think that if Florida's able to land, which I think they're going to get a 5-star safety, his name is Xavier Filsamy out of Texas. I think they're going to get him this weekend. If they also get Zay Mincy out of Daytona Beach, I think they may move on from Boatwright, and you could maybe see Florida State kind of kick the tires there. As maybe a secondary guy, like I think that, if you're Florida State, maybe you land Jacob, and then you want to take a second safety and you take Boatwright. If you feel like you're not going to get Mac or sorry, I'm forgetting Jones. So we'll see. We'll see what Florida State's able to do there. I mean, obviously you got to stay with these recruitments. I think they're pretty done with pride, but you may see them continue to push. I think that if you can get Bolden for an official visit, if you can get him to lock down an official visit soon, you continue to work there, continue to see what you can do. If you can't get him to commit to official visit, I think you probably put a little more eggs in the Ricardo Jones basket, in the Brandon Jacob basket, and I'd rather have like a 65-70% chance at a couple of really high 4-stars than like a 20% chance at a 5-star down the road. And I talked about this earlier, but KJ Bolden's talked about how he definitely has official visits locked into Clemson, Alabama, and Tennessee. If you're fighting just to get an official visit, it seems like he's got a top 3 there already. I know he's been on campus recently, so I'm not saying that Florida State's out of it by any means. But if you're having to fight this hard just to get him on an official visit, I don't know. I don't know how well that bodes for your long-term chances at actually landing him. Now, you could crush an official visit, but I'm just telling you, Clemson crushes official visits too, and Alabama crushes official visits too, and Tennessee literally hands cash to players on official visits. So I'm not saying that you can't do well in an official visit with him, but I don't. If you're having to push this hard, it becomes like juice versus the squeeze type situation. Are we pushing for Raiola? No, I think they're pretty happy with Luke. I talked about that yesterday. I'll talk about Luke just a little bit. But, yeah, I think they're really, really happy with where they are with Crum and Hoke. I think they really like what's going on with him. I know there was some concern around the Penn State visit and the words that were used in the article that was written. I took a little bit of issue with that with Wiltfong. I think Wiltfong does a great job, but I'll tell you about that after I give some love to our friends over at Gramco. Sorry to throw you for a loop there, Harlan. TheGramco.com. I guess we haven't done an ad read for them in a long time because I wasn't on the thing. But thegramco.com, the absolute best. Yeah, as you can see that little gummy there in Doak Campbell, last year's spring game. The best when it comes to Delta 8 products. All right, back to Luke. Yeah, I think that Florida State will be fine there. Here's what I took an issue with on Wilt Fong's article. Wilt Fong asked about Penn State, and I understand that it was an article that was really more geared toward the Penn State crowd, but it did get posted on the Noles 247 board, website. And so they do a good job there of, hey, if it's related to one kid or another, they put them on, they put it all kind of out there. He didn't ask Luke, or he didn't include Luke's answer about Florida State, right? And so if he didn't ask him about Florida State, I think that's weird. And if he asked him about Florida State but didn't include it, then I think that gets a little misleading to not give the full picture. I've seen the UF guys. I've got a ton of respect for the On3 UF guys. Corey Bender does a great job over there. I've seen him in interviews with Jordan Pride ask about UF. How was your visit? How did this go? How did they treat you? What did you take away? Blah, 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 blah. And then Bender ask, but tell me about your relationship and your commitment with Florida State. Oh, I'm still locked in with Florida State, or hey, I'm still learning that. I think what Pride said was, hey, I'm still learning about them. I'm still trying to figure out, like, hey, they got a new defensive backs coach, this, that, and the other. And so Bender's telling the whole story there, right? Like, he's telling the complete picture. It's not just all one-sided. They've done the same thing, both Florida and Florida State reporters and interviewers with the Jamari Howard kid that's committed to Michigan State. Hey, man, tell us about your commitment to Michigan State. Are you solid there? Are you locked in? Oh, yeah, I'm locked in. I'm good to go, blah, 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 blah. So it tells the full picture. I think that if Steve would have asked Luke, or maybe he did ask him and just didn't include it, I think that if Wilt Fong would have asked Luke, hey, man, tell us about Florida State, I think Luke probably would have said something to the effect of, hey, yeah, I'm still locked in there. I'll be there this weekend. I'm still committed to Florida State. I have a great relationship with Coach Norvell. I love Tony Tokars. I love what we're building there. I love the class that I'm recruiting for, blah, 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 blah. If Luke says all that, then Steve's article really is, how attractive is Steve's article at that point, right? How much does it, Steve's article got a lot of traction from both FSU fans and Penn State fans for two different reasons. Penn State thinking that they had a chance to flip him, and Florida State fans flipping out at the chance that he might flip, no pun intended. If Steve includes Luke Kromenhoek, Florida State commit, says that he enjoyed his time at Florida State but is still locked in with the Noles, who's clicking that article, right? I mean, I'm not. I don't care. Hey, he had a great time, but he reaffirmed his commitment. And so I think Wilt Fong knew what he was doing there. And I have a little bit of an issue with that. I have a little bit of an issue with him not telling the complete story. I think when you, or, you know, and I will say this, maybe Wilt Fong just completely forgot that he was committed to Florida State when he was interviewing him and forgot to ask him. If that's the case, then that's another issue. But when you don't tell the full story, you're misrepresenting or you're misleading the situation, right? Luke Kromenhoek is not just some random recruit who is not currently committed to a Power 5 school that you're going to post this story on, right? And so when you misrepresent it and you don't even include anything about Florida State, Steve's a national guy too. He's not a local guy that's just covering Penn State and only asking. If it was the Penn State reporters, I can understand it because they're just asking questions about Penn State. But Steve's a national guy, man. And Steve knows how this stuff works. He knows what's going to move the needle. And here we are. This is my second video on YouTube talking about this. So he did his job. He got us to click. He got us to read. He got us to react. He got us to go fill up 247's message boards about it. He's got you talking on the other message boards and in our Discord and on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube. He did what he needed to do. But I think the freak out is maybe a little bit premature on Kromenhoek because I don't think Steve told the complete story. I don't think he painted the full picture. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's a liar. I don't think he's a bad... I think he knew that if he included anything pro-Florida State, it makes his entire article kind of irrelevant. And so that's why he didn't do it. And so you got to kind of read between the lines there. Luke did take to Instagram and say, like, hey, I'm a Nole. I'll be there Saturday. I have personally confirmed Luke will be at the spring game. And I mean, I'll just, point blank tell you, he told me about an event that he's attending in Tallahassee. And so, yeah, he's there. He's locked in. He's a Nole. I think that we like to freak out over things. And I think that sometimes it's not just us freaking out about things. I think that there are times that there are influences, whether it be the media, whether it be whatever the situation is, there are sometimes influences that push us into freaking out a little bit more. And that's probably what happened here, right? Steve gets paid to write recruiting articles and move the needle. And that's certainly what he did. So, Harlan, I don't know if you're there, if you're on a call or not, but I do want to give some loves to our friends over at Smoothie Time. I don't know if you guys are going to be in town. Hey, do me a favor right now. If you're watching this and you're going to be at the spring game, if you're in Tallahassee this weekend, let me know by commenting that you'll be in Tallahassee. Let's chat. Smoothie Time Tally. They are phenomenal. They're on Capitol Circle right next to Beef O'Brady's. Their smoothies are great, but they have a phenomenal sandwich. I got a club sandwich with my wife the last time I was in town, and I am so pissed that I split that with her because it was so good. I am not pissed I split it with her. I should have just bought two. But they have a lunchtime special every day. If you're in Tallahassee right now, you can go 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., half off a smoothie with the purchase of any sandwich. They've got a strawberry. I got the kids a strawberry banana, kind of an Old Faithful smoothie there. I like something a little more tropical, pineapple, mango, and OJ. That's Sarai Surprise. Really, really good. 1208 Capitol Circle Southeast, right next door to Beef O'Brady's. Appreciate Smoothie Time. If you're in Tallahassee or you're going this weekend, people always ask me, hey, where should I go when I'm in Tallahassee to go eat? I always say Guthrie's. I always say, we love the folks over at Mad. So Smoothie Time's great for a little bit more healthy of an option when it comes to lunch. I know you can't do Guthrie's every single time you're going to get a meal. So Smoothie Time's a great option for something a little lighter. They pack a bunch of mix-ins, proteins, different things in their smoothies. A ton of healthy mix-ins, a bunch of unhealthy mix-ins too. Throw in some Delta 8 powder in a smoothie. If you're going to do it, then do it big. That's incredible. I like it. But Smoothie Time, they do a great job. Check those folks out. Hey, if you're going to be in Tally this weekend, again, come hang out with us. There's a tailgate down there in the description. You get every place we've mentioned today. Guthrie's, Garnet and Gold, Gramco, and Smoothie Time. We're going to hook you up with gift cards to each of them if you come to the tailgate. Actually, it's the first 25 people that are there, buy ticket, whatever, you get it. So there's still a few. A lot of people are asking if they can bring cash today off. That's totally fine, but then you don't get the gift cards. So we got a few of those left, so go sign up today and come hang out with us. So, all right, we've got about 5 more minutes. What do you guys have left? What other questions? Let me see if I missed anything. What have I missed? Man, I don't know that I can recap this whole thing. But so that you will go back and watch the replay, we talked about replacements for Jordan Pride, why the Jordan Pride decommitment's not really a big deal at all, guys that we're excited to see during the spring, commits that we think Florida State will get that are high 4 stars and 5 stars, and we also gave some love to our partners, Smoothie Time, Gramco, Guthrie's, and Garnet and Gold. Any sleeper recruits this weekend? Okay, so I don't necessarily know that anybody is going to... I don't necessarily have a name that I say like, oh, this person's definitely going to commit, or, we're definitely getting this person. I have looked at some visit lists. I've spoken with some people. I think that what would be most important coming out of this weekend. Yeah, this is a good one. Here, let's do this. I think that what would be most important coming out of this weekend would be to get a couple of people to set up official visits. I think that if you could get KJ Bolden to set up an official visit, that would be a really, really big thing. I think that if you could get Ricardo Jones, another safety that we talked about a lot, to confirm an official visit, that would be really, really big. I think Zandamela is going to be on campus. So if you could get Jason Zandamela to... I don't think that he's set up an official visit just yet, so I think he would be really, really big. Offensive lineman that I think Florida State is really, really high on. I had a list that I had written down on my Google Drive here, so excuse me for the delay, but I want to pull that down. We got. Oh, look at Scott! Smoothies for the kids, Scott. All right, now you guys got to go $39.99 to beat Scott because he's up to $39.98. Appreciate you, Scott. Bro, those kids, my son, how many of y'all got little kids? My son eats a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah, money too. But a ridiculous amount of food. So, yeah, that'll be good for a couple of smoothies. I appreciate you, Scott. Scott's the man. Look at Scott doubling up on his on his donation here today. All right. I think that, yeah, you got a bunch of guys that are coming in that are committed. I think that Kylan Fox is somebody that I think, if you could get him to decide on an official visit. Zandamela is the big one to me that you'd really like to lock in. Dylan Stevenson's a big one. I think that that's somebody that you'd really like to kind of work on. I think edge recruiting could certainly improve. Jamari Howard is somebody that I'm really excited to see on campus this weekend. He's the Michigan State commit that we told you about, 4-star cornerback. I think that if you could get him to come off of his commitment, that'd be really big. I think Florida State leads for 4-star athlete BJ Gibson. I think they're in a really, really good spot for him. He was a Tennessee baseball commit. I know that Florida's really involved there. Florida State obviously involved there pretty heavily. He was on campus at the end of January for Florida State's Junior Day. I think he was also on campus about a month ago in early March when it was big visit weekend season. I spoke with some folks at UF. They think UF's probably running second there to Florida State. And so I think that getting him would be really, really big. I don't know that BJ Gibson commits this weekend, but he's somebody that I think you could see maybe. I don't know. I don't think you're going to see any massive commitments this weekend. Not to put a damper on anything. To me, you get some guys that are on this spring weekend visit to lock in 4 official visits. That points you, like if Zandamela locked in for an official visit, like I'd say he's FSU's to lose. If who's the safety I just mentioned, and I've mentioned like 15 times on this thing. If you can get sheesh, I'm losing it. I am losing it. Oh, Ricardo Jones. So, thank you, Harlan. If you can get Ricardo Jones to lock in, that'd be a really, really good thing. I mean, you could see a commitment from 25. I think you're probably over under 1.5. I'll go over, but give me until like Wednesday. Like, because some kids want to go home and talk to their family. Some kids want to plan it out, stuff like that. I think give me until Wednesday, and I'll say over 1.5 between like today and Wednesday. DJ Pickett, 2025 Zephyr Hills. I don't know. I've heard some things from some folks that, he's a little bit higher on Michigan. I know that On3 has us leading just slightly. It's so far out right now that I think we're doing fine, but I don't think that, it's anything that's going to be crazy, like right away. So we'll see. I think that's kind of a little bit down the road. I think that, so give me 1.5, but both those might be like 25 and beyond, right? Like you might not see 24. You might see like a 3-4 star commit. I don't expect any massive fireworks. So Vince, I appreciate it. We'll see you out there at the tailgate. We're going to have a great time. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hanging out. If you caught this late, go back and watch the beginning. It was really good. We talked about some safety options for Jordan Pride that replace him as Florida State's committed safety. Shoot us comments if you watch this on the replay. Shoot us messages on social media if you need anything. Again, if you're in here right now, we've got over 300 people. It's getting up close to 350, 400, I think. I don't want to lie to you guys, so I'll go look at the number real quick. But got a ton of people over in the Discord. Yeah, 330. Always chatting about Florida State, whether it's football recruiting. We got people talking about the LSU game right now. So come join us over in the Discord. The link is down below in the description. So as soon as this video is over, go click all the links in the description, whether it be to the Discord, tickets, support our partners, whatever you're looking for, we've got you covered. I appreciate you guys a ton for hanging out. This was fun. You guys might have reinvigorated my live, my ability to do lives. We might do more lives more often after this. So thank you guys for hanging out. We'll talk to y'all soon. Go Noles.